Imagine training for weeks, pushing your limits daily, only to step onto the field, court, or track to feel your body about halfway through. Not because you didn't train hard enough, but because you didn't eat enough. This is not a hypothetical, but my reality. There were times I was constantly exhausted during practices and competitions, and I blamed my effort and thought I wasn't working hard enough. But the truth was, my body simply didn't have the fuel it needed, and I'm sure some of you in the audience have felt the same way. I've also witnessed my teammates struggle, not because they lack ability, but because they were not fueling their bodies properly or following harmful diet trends that don't meet the physical demands of their sport. Once I began following a nutrition plan, everything changed. My energy increased, my recovery improved, and my performance followed. And I realized something critical. You cannot out-train for nutrition. A major issue is that there is a lack of reliable nutrition knowledge. Many athletes get information off social media, friends, or unqualified sources for nutrition advice. A research study published in BMC Medicine shows how a large percentage of athletes answer nutrition questions incorrectly or don't know the answer at all. Despite there being a number of correct answers, the overall inconsistency indicates a major gap in understanding. When athletes don't understand nutrition, they're not just risking performance, but they're risking health, development, and a future in sports. Now that we've looked at the knowledge gap, let's look at the physical consequences when nutrition is not prioritized. One major issue is underfueling, also known as low energy availability. This occurs when athletes burn more energy than they consume, leaving the body without enough fuel to function properly. At first, it may be mistaken for fatigue, but over time, it can lead to relative energy deficiency in sport, as described in a journal written by Kristen E. Whitney and her team, who are professionals in the nutrition field. The condition doesn't just affect performance, it affects nearly every system in the body, including strength, endurance, hormones, and bone health. In more severe cases, it can put an athlete at high risk of stress fractures, infections, and can cause permanent damage to the body. Additionally, Scott Stoll, who specializes in sports and musculoskeletal medicine, comments on how athletes often don't realize they're underfueling. They think feeling tired is normal and pushing through exhaustion is being dedicated. It is not discipline, it is simply just depletion, and over time, it will break your body down. A major reason this happens is due to common misconceptions. Many athletes rely on supplements and energy drinks, thinking they are necessary for performance. However, in an article by Tavis Patoli, who works in the nutrition consultants industry, says that if an athlete prioritizes real food and gets adequate rest, then supplements are not needed at all. In fact, an article by sports dietitians Katie Maloney and Jessica Clifford adds to this by saying that when athletes depend on these over real food, it often leads to poor energy balance, nutritional deficiencies, and experience slower recovery and fatigue. Energy drinks in particular come with serious downsides, such as anxiety, dehydration, poor sleep, and heart palpitations. Even worse, in a peer-reviewed article, John some of